We are in Thailand with Global Blockchain Show, and today I'm with Michael from Zero G.
Nice to be here. Nice to see you again. It's been a while since New York.
Good to see you. So give a quick intro on Zero G.
Oh, of course. So Zero G is building the first decentralized AI operating system. And what we're doing is essentially putting all of AI fully on chain. And we started at the data layer. So Zero G storage made for AI workloads. And we built a data throughput layer called a RDA layer that can do up to 50 gigabytes per second per consensus layer, which is 1 million times faster than native Ethereum. And then recently, we just released the service marketplace where you can now have, for the first time, fully verifiable, permissionless, and decentralized inference. And we've done that in partnership with FADA, Ethere, and Akash as well. Mm-hmm. So that's the AI operating system in a nutshell.
How long ago did you start?
We started May of last year. That's essentially when we first incorporated the company, and that's when the 4 co-founders came together after 6 months of co-founder dating.
That must be a really good experience. 4 co-founders come together to build this. Tell me the story.
One day basically got kind of a random call from my former classmate, Thomas Yao at Stanford. And he basically said, hey, I know you've been wanting to do something in Web3. You know, we invested in a number of deals together. 5 years ago, I invested in a company called Conflux, and Ming and Fan want to do something more global scale. Are you interested in meeting them? And I basically said, yeah, I'm, ready to explore something new. Let's check it out. Had a good conversation, and then 6 months later, find myself starting a company with them. So I basically determined that they were the best engineers and computer scientists I've ever worked with. Just phenomenal backgrounds. Fan won 2 Olympic gold medals in informatics. He's a University of Toronto professor, MIT computer science PhD, and then obviously built Conflux with Ming. Ming spent 11 years at Microsoft Research and wrote some of the key papers around distributed storage, wrote some of the first AI algorithms for Microsoft Bing as well. So just phenomenal background. And it really started with the team.
Yeah, it always starts with the founders. How was the experience when you first launched?
The first few months were much more about the discovery. We're like, we have a team now, but we don't know what we're going to do. So we basically said we wanted to do something at the intersection of 3 critical points. 1, we have to be passionate about it. Mm-hmm. 2, it has to be a major unlock for the space. And then 3, it has to coincide with our domain expertise as well. And so we spent quite a bit of time really searching on what problem to work on first. And eventually, after spending a number of days and weeks with different founders in Web3, especially Sandeep and Kenzie from Polygon, mm-hmm. we determined that the data availability problem was a worthwhile one to solve at that point, because data throughput needs are going to grow in the age of AI. And so having an infrastructure that was designed for very different applications is not going to scale to where AI is going to go in the future. To give you a sense, InfiniBand and data centers, if we wanted to do fully on-chain training, at this point can do terabytes per second in throughput. Mm-hmm. And Ethereum was doing 80 kilobytes per second when we were starting. So how do we bridge that gap? And top DA systems at that point were doing 10 megabytes per second. And so we had to fundamentally rethink the architecture to get to the speeds that are required to put things like AI training on chain. And so that was the first problem that we found after about 5 months or so of searching, and then did our first fundraise, and that was very successful and started building from there.
Were there any other problems that they mentioned?
We looked at things like cross-chain bridging as well, because for us personally, that was a really painful experience. Even yesterday, I did some kind of bridging back and forth to participate in our own node sale, and it was a painful experience. So it's still an issue, yeah.
Okay, in the realm of AI, how does this play out? I'm thinking you launch this product now, like while AI and crypto, I guess crypto was not as hot as it was like a couple of years ago. Now it's picking up. It is an exciting moment for the overlap of both.
Right.
How has been the reception?
Yeah, the reception in the Web3 world is very favorable because people are thinking about new ways of interacting with blockchains. So for example, can I tell my agent to trade some things for me? Can I tell my agent to pay things for me? So exploring totally different user experience perspectives that are all built on this kind of fundamental stack of decentralized AI. And of course, there's a lot of AI meme coins now, so also utilizing AI infrastructure. On the centralized AI side, though, most companies there are all about getting to AGI, artificial general intelligence. And so they're at the moment kind of ignoring what's happening in the decentralized AI space. And so for us to be relevant in that space, we need to have some major breakthroughs, like can we show that decentralized training is possible on very large scale LLMs? Can we show that verifiable inference makes a big difference to use cases that don't just require somebody to, buy, I don't know, a pizza, order, restaurant table or something like that.
Yeah. As the technology evolves on the AI side and even in crypto, more stuff will be possible. What's something that you have maybe on the roadmap?
So we've just released, obviously, this verifiable inference layer. We are doing active AI research on decentralized compute. And so we want to see a world where we can tap into the hundreds of millions of consumer devices that have GPUs so that we either can train much larger models in a distributed context or decentralized context, or give the community the opportunity to train lots and lots of small models, hundreds, maybe even millions or billions, and then put them together into a large-scale model that outperforms on different dimensions with the centralized models. And so that's active research. Another piece of research that's super vital is how do we align these models with human interests? Because in the next few years, we're going to have humanoid robots in our houses. If somebody weaponizes those robots, all of a sudden we have, Terminator situation happen. How do we prevent that? How do we create alignment? How do we use blockchain technologies? And our perspective is there's no future in those use cases in AI without the use of blockchains. They're designed for adversarial kind of systems.
Do you see, is there like a strong chance that things might go wrong with AI?
There is, absolutely. And so there's definitely a risk where AI wakes up one day and basically determines that humans don't need to be in the loop. I can get all these rewards myself. Why have humans? And so that's a real danger that we need to prevent. To give you an example, I forgot when exactly this happened, but Elon Musk at one point at a conference said that I asked ChatGPT what's worse, like the misgendering of Kylie Jenner or nuclear warfare. And basically the agent or ChatGPT basically said that it's the misgendering piece. So if it's things that is less threatening to human beings, then that's an issue. So,
why would it give that answer?
A lot of it is kind of probabilistic, and it's also the way you train those models and what the censorship kind of restrictions were in those models. And so it's very similar in terms of how you educate a child. If you educate a child to, a crass example, make bombs, eventually it'll grow up to make bombs. Mm-hmm. And so similarly, the whole kind of pre-training of models, we have to be very careful in terms of what goes into them.
Is there anything in the industry that you find is going to happen next year that's very significant? Any predictions?
In decentralized AI or just AI in general?
I say decentralized AI.
Decentralized AI? Yes, we should be able to show large-scale LLM training in a decentralized setting, which I think the closest that we've come is, I think Prime Intellect did a 10 billion parameter model that they've done in a more kind of distributed setting. And so 10 billion is still very far from hundreds of billions. And even in the future, trillion parameter type of models. So that's going to be a major breakthrough when we get to that. Basically finding ways of using crypto economic incentive structures to also align models. So I think that would be a big breakthrough in the industry too. And then even just getting into parity in terms of like overhead and costs with centralized AI is a big milestone as well. I don't know if that's going to happen within 12 months, but we're hopefully as an industry can get to it as quickly as possible.
Move towards it. Yeah. There's definitely a lot of investment going in this segment.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Within like AI broad, like what do you see happening there? Because there's so much going on.
AI more broadly.
Yeah.
So definitely there's one trend, which is bigger models are better. But even within that, people are starting to experiment with a mixture of experts or a million mixture of experts. So recognizing that maybe as these models really grow, maybe we need to spread them apart a little bit so that we have some individual expert models that can be called upon if there's specific prompts. So what's a simple example? If you're asking for how to fix your car, but then you prompt the model in such a way that a computer scientist kind of gives a response, then you're not prompting the model correctly, or you don't have the right kind of expert in the model that can give you the answer that you're looking for. And so that's one trend, kind of bigger models, but then maybe also starting to break them apart. Then the other trend is, because this is a new computing platform, how can we embed it into all workflows that we currently have? Can we enhance human capabilities on engineering? Can we enhance human capabilities on design? Can we automate complete workflows? Can we have AI agents run complete call centers? And then in the future, the prediction is there's going to be a one-person billion-dollar company that basically just has a bunch of AIs running all the functions and then one person steering it. My next question is, when is the zero-person company going to happen?
Oh, that'd be interesting.
And then hopefully that's a DAO running on crypto rails. But that's likely not going to happen in the next 12 months, but we'll see.
When I think about things going wrong, I think that there might be some kind of like AI ethics or like regulation or something like that. Because if anyone can just write anything and it becomes really easy to put something together, I could see things going wrong like really quickly.
Absolutely, yeah.
How do you see that happening?
I mean, with any technology, it can be either used for human good or weaponized. Similarly, with atomic energy, you can use it for producing energy for all of society, or you can use it as an atomic bomb. And so very similarly, AI can be utilized in different ways. It's a form of intelligence. You can use deepfakes to dupe people into believing something that's not true. You can have AI agents that cheat different processes so that certain people get more rewards. You can use AI agents in such a way that, let's say we have a lot of humanoid robots running around, to then make them into your, particular army, for example. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of risks around AI going rogue in that perspective.
How do you see the new generations adapting to this? They're going to grow up with it. They're going to be used to it. It's going to be a completely different lifestyle.
Absolutely.
What's the impact? I mean, humans are like less social. There's a lot of concerns around that. I had a few guests here that debated this with me. There's a lot of concerns that people will raise their standards socially. They'll be less patient. They will be more lonely. But we always think that it's bad from like the older we get, I guess. But if the new generation is born into it, perhaps is more adapted to it. What do you think?
It's something I've been thinking quite a bit about. I just had a daughter 3 months ago, and so she's basically going to be crypto native and AI native from the get-go. And so what does the world look like for her? And I've actually debated this on another podcast as well. And one version of the world is we're all going to turn like Wall-E and basically be, less social, sit on our butts, just have entertainment, live a totally hedonistic kind of lifestyle. But my hope is that it's more of a world where, if you're familiar with the story of Siddhartha and the Buddha, where basically he had everything in his life. He had a palace, he had a beautiful wife, he had all wealth, but still something wasn't enough for him. And that was the spiritual dimension. And so I hope that human beings get the desire of living higher forms of consciousness, if you will, where it's a desire for more, to be more. And as a result, have a society that's full of abundance. So I think that's kind of the techno-optimist viewpoint, that AI really creates a society of abundance where we can live the highest versions of ourselves. Mm-hmm. So that's my hope.
Well, I hope so too. Is there anything that is being done in AI at the moment that you think is kind of just going to fade? Like it's not going to be relevant or useful?
I mean, models keep improving. And so the models that are relevant today are very likely irrelevant in the next couple of years. And so
right,
from
the
that
evolution
perspective,
of it.
the evolution. There's still something to be figured out around what do we do with deepfakes? Like, do we just basically watermark everything that's produced by AI? Or do we just have like a stamp of authenticity on the blockchain to say like, hey, this was not AI generated. This was an actual human that generated it. So there's some kind of key ideas around proof of humanity and that still need to be solved. And so hopefully deepfakes and people not recognizing that they're deepfakes will also cease to exist so that it's very clear what we're looking at.
I think on social, they can track the metadata. They can see the metadata and understand if it's like where it's been saved from. It doesn't guarantee, but it's one way of checking.
Yeah, I mean, there's many ways to fake it at the moment. For example, if you say like, oh, give me proof of humanity that an AI didn't create it, what if a human being kind of logs in and then AI takes over right after that? So we need really fault-proof ways of doing that. But yeah, certainly metadata could be one, but you can also break into centralized databases and change the metadata and then say that, oh, well, this is actually a real thing. Well, I thought it wasn't, but I guess if the metadata says it's real, I believe that. So blockchains, again, have a good competitive edge there.
Is there any companies on the intersection of blockchain and AI that you have a strong opinion on?
I have a strong opinion on. I generally like a lot of the experiments that are happening in the Web3 AI space, but things like, for example, BitTensor are a great experiment and great kind of coordination mechanism, but they don't deliver like full decentralized AI. And so we really need to go further and actually build the stack that enables that. So even things like, I think it's called Based Agent, which is based on the base L2, you look behind the hood and it's basically running on OpenAI Swarm. And so it's essentially a centralized system that's just running on the blockchain. So that's not decentralized AI. So I have a very strong perspective on that. Like there's closed AI, which is all of the centralized AI players. And, there's some variations, like Meta is more open than OpenAI, ironically. And then there is decentralized AI, which is supposed to be fully trustless, permissionless, completely verifiable. And on blockchains, we should be using all of the decentralized AI infrastructure, not just putting wrappers around closed AI infrastructure.
Yeah, I mean, that's a common trend in crypto. There's a lot of companies that do that. How do you feel about WorldCoin?
How do I feel about WorldCoin? I think in general, WorldCoin's approach to proof of humanity is solid from a perspective of, what can we do to mitigate, some androids trying to pretend that they're human. So I think it's going to be very important to have some type of proof of humanity. I haven't deeply looked at their technology stack, so I don't know how real it is or how realistic it is. Certainly got a lot of FUD in some ways and a lot of supporters in other ways. They
had some issue with, I think it was in Africa or something.
Right,
Did you hear of this?
Don't remember the exact issue, but I've definitely heard there were some concerns and like how the payment works and does the implementation of universal basic income really solve what AI does? My perspective is, what if we just change the perspective around it? What if it's not a governmental thing? What if it's something that companies can do? So for example, Grasp pays its users to provide data and then has authenticity behind the data. So why can't we do that versus saying like, okay, well, all these AI companies are going to take all of the revenue share in society and then governments have to pay UBI or some other company has to do it. My perspective is more, why don't we embed people more into these AI workflows so that they can be beneficiaries of them and create more abundance that way?
As you started working on Zero-G, did you find other problems that would likely be something good to focus on and work on that maybe no one else is really working on at the moment?
Yeah, and initially it was very much about, wow, we have to like completely recreate the stack because AI workloads are just significantly more than what kind of regular applications need. So like even DeFi applications don't need a lot of data throughput, even at hundreds of thousands of transactions, very simple transactions. And so we really started with the storage layer because we need all different data types. If it's going to be fully decentralized, we need all different data types found in Web 2 so you can have hotter forms of storage. So for example, if you need a vector DB, you can build it directly on the key value store that we have. And we wanted it to be fully EVM compatible. So there was a host of problems where we had to just like build from the ground up so that the system actually works for AI workloads. Fast data ingestion rates, fast data retrieval rates, and that wasn't really existent in the space. And then we fixed the data throughput issue. And now we're tackling the fully decentralized permissionless verifiability of inference and fine tuning and so on. One experiment that we have done combining the two is we fine tuned the 7 billion parameter model. And after a few minutes of catching up, basically there was almost no overhead between the centralized solution and the decentralized solution using our decentralized solution using streaming data. And so I guess it works. We're starting to come to an era where you no longer have to decide between decentralized and centralized solutions on the basis of performance alone. And so that was really the biggest problem that we wanted to tackle. So it's actually possible to build AI in a decentralized way.
That's great. Long-term vision, what is it?
So our mission is to make AI a public good. And kind of this vision that I described of abundance, we want to see that come to fruition. Like some of my professors say that maybe in 2 generations, we don't have to work for a living anymore. I mean, that would be a phenomenal world to live in. That would be a world I would love for my daughter to be in. And yeah, that's what we're building towards. And we're hoping that the decentralized kind of AI infrastructure really enables that world in a more open, trustless, and community-driven way.
Mm-hmm. I do see that if we don't no longer need to work, we might still find work to do.
Yes, I'm pretty sure we would.
We tend to be very like work driven. Is there anything exciting coming up for Zero G?
So we just had a big announcement and press release. We raised a $290 million round, so we're very excited about that. We also have an initiative to decentralize the network right now, which is our Zero G Foundation node sale. Mm-hmm. And the intention behind that was that how do we make people true owners of the future of AI? And how do we have them participate in the network long term and then be incentivized to run critical infrastructure that's going to be needed? So over time, we want these AI alignment nodes to do some of the things that I described, like can they spot model drift? Can they spot data poisoning or injection attacks as part of the training process? Can they spot models misbehaving? And so we want to upgrade them over time. And so it's a really great way for the community to own and participate in this future. Mm-hmm.
For everyone watching, where can they find you?
It's usually I'm pretty active on my X, so it's my first initial M and my last name Heinrich, so MHEINRICH. So definitely follow me there, and always happy to engage. You can also follow Zero G Labs, which is 0G_ and then labs on X as well. So yeah, really happy to engage. Discord's pretty active for Zero G as well. So zerog.ai and look for the Discord on the bottom.
Michael, thank you.
Big pleasure. Thanks for having me.